I'm gonna see how much gear I can fit on this paddle board and take it for a paddle. I'll see how it handles in the water and see if I can mix my location without losing any gear. I've never done this before, so it should be interesting. So the board that we're gonna be using for today's test was actually sent to me by a company called Outdoor Masters. And their motto is lowering the barrier of entrance with solid tech and a reasonable price. So I'm using their Orion touring board today, which is a 12.6 by 32-inch wide model. So let's get started by loading this board up and taking it out for a paddle. All right, we're all loaded up and ready to go. I switched over to 360 camera so I can put my other camera away in this dry bag. We got the front stuff loaded up, stuff here in the middle, and stuff on the back. So I'm gonna try to carry this thing into the water now and head out for our paddle. And we are ready to go. So as you can probably see in the video, today is a little bit choppy and a little bit breezy, which is actually pretty good to test out this board because I can see how it really handles in those kind of conditions. First impressions, this board does pretty well. Being that the board is 32 inches wide, it does provide really good stability side to side. Even through all that chop, I still felt super stable and super comfortable on my paddle board, and I didn't feel like I was gonna fall off, which is really comforting when you're going for a tour. I was also impressed how well the board tracked with a little bit of side breeze. As I was paddling along, I was going straight towards where I wanted to go and wasn't having to worry about drifting off to one side as I was paddling. Now I do have a fair amount of weight of gear on this paddle board, so as I was going through all those chops, I did notice the board flexing quite a bit as it was going up and over all the little chop in the water. Just because there's weight in the front of the board, I'm obviously standing in the middle of the board, and there's weight in the back of the board. So because of that, and since it is an inflatable, I did feel it kind of flexing over those little bumps as I was paddling along. Not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're used to paddling a hard or rigid board, this will feel a little bit different and will take some time to get used to. But as I said earlier, with it being 32 inches wide, it still feels super stable. Even though you feel a little bit of movement or the flex of the board below your feet, you still tend to feel very stable. Man, this is one of the reasons why I love paddling in Baja so much. The landscape here is just so diverse, and I absolutely love it. Check this out. Now, even though this is a super stable board, there is a chance that you will fall in the water while you're going on a paddle tour. So I'm going to jump in the water real quick just to see how easy or how hard it is to get back on this paddle board without jumping any gear off. Let's get in. Woo. A little bit fresh this morning. All right, let's see how this goes. Oh yeah, easy. Back on the board, all my gear is just fine. Piece of cake. All right, we have made it to our destination and we didn't lose any gear. Woo, super pumped about that. And I was pretty well loaded up. Let me show you what I had on here. 2 bags here on the front. One's actually a tent, there's other some random gear. Of course, my camera tripod here. We had another dry bag here in the middle. You could definitely fit more in the middle here as well, as there are plenty of tie downs along the way. And actually, I also believe Outdoor Master sells a seat you can just strap down on top of your paddleboard to use more of as a kayak as well. So super cool. Moving towards the back, we have the bag on the very bottom, which actually the back the board comes in with some other gear. We have another bag on top of that. We have a bunch of snorkel gear. Just random stuff trying to fit on here, seeing how much you can fit. So anyways, this is the gear I chose to travel with today. Some bags are even a little bit heavy, and even with all the extra weight on the paddleboard, it still feels super safe, super stable, and overall had a pretty good journey over here. All right, let's talk a little bit about what this board comes with. As I mentioned earlier, it does come with a very nice travel bag that even has backpack straps on the back of it if you prefer to carry it like that. The inside is actually layered with a UV protection, so if you ever have your board in direct sunlight, that should help protect it more. Now personally, I do my best to make sure my board or even my board bag is not stored in direct sunlight. But if for some reason you're in that situation where your bag with your board inside of it is in that direct sunlight, that should help protect it more. It also comes with a hand pump, a waterproof case with a repair kit inside of it in case your board is ever damaged, as well as a bag of other accessories such as GoPro mounts, your paddle, and of course a leash. So here are some of my thoughts after using this board and testing it out. Starting off with the board itself, I did find it to be fairly enjoyable to paddle around and use. It's a very stable board, it tracks pretty well, and there are plenty of tie-down straps on it for you to tie gear onto as well. Now at the end of the day, this is an entry-level paddle board, and after using this board in comparison to my more higher quality, a little bit higher price boards, I do notice a little bit difference in terms of performance and rigidity of the paddleboard as well. But for what it is, as an entry-level paddleboard, it is a decent board. Now, unfortunately, I was unable to test the paddle that does come with the paddleboard, as it's simply just too short for my height to use. So I'm 6'4", and this is where I need the paddle adjusted to, but as you can tell, it's right at the end of the paddle shaft, so it's literally impossible for me to paddle with this paddle because of my height. Just looking and feeling this paddle though, there are some improvements that could be made to it. The biggest one, where this paddle comes together here in the middle, when you clip it together, there's still a lot of wiggling room that you probably hear in the mic. That noise you're hearing is where these two shafts come together, is it wiggling around inside of it, which you don't want at all when you're paddling. You want a shaft that is firm and not all this wiggle as it plays around at that connecting point. Now Outdoor Masters does say on the website they do have a carbon fiber paddle, but I don't believe this is it because this definitely just has an aluminum shaft and a nylon plastic blade, which are usually not the greatest combination because it makes the paddle heavier. And also this point right here where the blade connects to the shaft is a very weak point. And from my past experiences using paddles similar to this one, over time, especially under a year, I usually end up breaking the paddle off from the shaft because it's just not a strong enough connection, mostly due to the blade being plastic. Anyways, those are just my tiny bits of feedback for companies such as Outdoor Masters that hopefully they can apply and improve the paddles that come along with their paddle boards, giving you a better experience. Anyways, thanks again to Outdoor Masters for sponsoring this video by sending me this paddle board to use, test, and share my thoughts on. If you're interested in learning more about Outdoor Masters or this paddle board, be sure to check out the link down below. I'll catch you guys next video. Hasta luego, amigos.